Okay, this is case 1174, Michael Prilla. Mr. Prilla, please give me the name of the police department you're complaining about and tell us what happened.
Southport Township Police Department. Basically, well, it all started because I had an affair with my second cousin, Michelle Caton. In the course of the affair, I decided that it was best that I break it off with her. It was ever married because I thought it was wrong. She was married, I'm not. Unknown to me, she's got borderline personality disorder. I knew she cheats on her husband all the time, which had caused problems in our family before because we had hired her to watch my grandmother, and due to the fact that she was cheating on her husband with my grandmother's neighbor, she could no longer do that because his wife at the time, as I understand it, they're still married, but they don't live together. They're estranged. Said she can't be down here anymore. In any event, I break it off with her. I tell her, look, you have to act like nothing happened. Just remain cousins and friends. She told me that her therapist said that she couldn't keep her hands off me, she couldn't be around me. I told her that if you act this way and don't act like anything happened, you're acting like a strong woman by not talking to me and my mom and all that, and they're going to find out. And they did find out. My mom started reading my emails and found out. During the affair, I was communicating in emails with her in German to hide it from everyone because me and her could understand it enough, but no one else could. We stopped doing that, and she acted like she wanted to get caught, and we did. After we got caught, she told me her husband raped her, and I believed her. So I'm getting told that her raped her. I'm going crazy. I'm believing it. I absolutely believe her. Not knowing that part of her disorder is that she lies and does a thing called gaslighting. Gaslighting is when someone with borderline personality disorder tells you something that is so horrible it drives you crazy. They literally are called crazy makers by psychologists and psychiatrists. They will drive you nuts by pushing your buttons. I had discussions with her about the fact that I couldn't stand sex offenders before. I told her that one of my former girlfriends had been raped before I had gone out with her and how it affected her and me. I had told her that I wasn't going to Denver for a mutual cousin of ours' wedding because his uncle and his grandfather had sexually abused their own kids, and I said, can't be around them. But she knew that this is the one thing that would set me off. Her intent and purpose was to solicit me to kill her husband. I'm convinced of that. So I had been still calling her and her mother and saying, don't bring your husband around, don't bring Dino around, and communicating. And because they didn't know what to do, they didn't even try to calm me down. They didn't try to talk to me and reason with me. Her mother didn't say, look, my daughter's lying, because her mother's mentally ill too. Her mother tells everyone that 3 of her 4 husbands beat her. They both, and her sister, all say that her sister's ex-husband beat her. They say that their uncle, her mother's brother, Ray, beat his dad, which would be Michelle's grandfather. And I didn't realize at the time that it's just all lies. Any man in their life who gets close to them, they will eventually turn on them and say these lies. This is what they do. But I believe there's a time, so I called, first her mother called the Pleasant Hills Police Department. This Pleasant Hills cop called me up and said, quit calling them. I said, did they tell you that I had an affair with Michelle Caton? And he said, no. I said, did they tell you that she told me that her husband raped her? And he said, no. He said, well, that's why I was freaking out. Do you understand that? He said, well, that's my key, just don't call them anymore. I said, all right, I'm just going to tell everybody everything now. Because if they're running around telling this about husband, and they don't understand why I'm freaking out about it, I'm wondering what's going to happen to me next. And he said, well, then they can sue you in civil court. I said, well, then go ahead. I don't have any money. I ain't going to recover anything. And two, sue me, you have to have lied. I'm not lying here. This is what they told me. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. But, so, I never heard from Pleasant Police again, because they realized that they were dealing with crazy women. Rochelle lives in South Park, so she went shop shopping later on, and went to her local South Park shop. In the meantime, I realized I have a problem. There's now spreading lies about me harassing them. That's what this stuff was saying, I was harassing them. I'm not harassing them. I'm not harassing their husband, you know, that he raped her. Nobody cares about that. No cause in the world cares if you harass the guy that you think is raping your cousin. And nor do they care, you know, about this because they're realizing that she told me this and I'm her lover. She had an intent and purpose. She wanted me to drive me crazy, and she did. I entered therapy. A therapist tried Paxil, shut my kidneys down, nearly killed me. They tried Lexapro, that shut my kidneys down, nearly killed me. In the meantime, I'm telling all of this to my therapist, and they're telling me she's lying. Her husband didn't rape her. But that's setting off an alarm bell in my head. What am I going to do? You know, if she's lying, then I'm next. And I'm next, and that's going to be a problem because all our mutual relatives are going to think that I did something worse than I did. So I tell them all what really happened. Tell them I had an affair with her. It was consensual. Yeah, we're second cousins. It was wrong. I broke it off. She told me her husband raped her. You know. So she calls up. Well, before that, I actually called the South Park police before I told anyone anything. I called her police before she did. I called them up and I got Sergeant Sean S. Dawson on the phone. He's laughing at me. He's saying, she don't make a complaint. We can't do anything. Well, that's fine. But why don't you investigate and see if she's trying to solicit me to kill this guy? Because it's kind of an off statement to tell your lover. Okay? My husband raped me. You tell that to your lover, someone that you know can't stand that. He's not believing me. I said, listen, I have a associate's degree in criminal justice, a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. I was in the third year of law school when I dropped out. They dropped out to watch my grandmother because Michelle couldn't do it anymore because of her affair with this Strickland, her neighbor. So he doesn't care. And he doesn't care that I served in an North State Police unit in the reserve. Doesn't care that I did my internship in the district attorney's office when in law school, and that I know something's wrong here. Either she's been raped or she's soliciting me to kill her husband. He says, I'll investigate. He never does. Months go by. I'm in therapy. A therapist is telling me she's lying. I'm like, well, that's great. Well, what do I do? I'm doing next. So I tell all our mutual relatives and friends, everybody, everything. Tell them about the affair. I email them all. And she calls up Sergeant Costa of the South Park Police, where she lives. And he tries to file harassment charges against me. Now, harassment charges mean that I would have had to have contacted her, followed her around, emailed her, phoned her. I didn't do any of such things. I'm wondering if I'm crazy and I did that, and he didn't know about it. I did not.
Okay, let me just stop you there. I've only got about a minute left because I have another client that comes behind you. So what I'd like to do is find out what the police did to you.
Well, I get to the hearing, and the cop starts talking, and I stand up and say, objection, perjury. He says to me that he called me first and told me not to talk to Rochelle. He did no such thing. I called him first. That's relevant in this field, and that's perjury.
Okay. Okay, I got it. So that's the case against the cop.
Perjury. I want his badge. And I want it gone. Okay? Number one, perjury. Right in court under oath, and I gave him the opportunity to correct himself. He actually reversed himself and said I called him back.